Salam everyone. So today I'm going to continue my memories about Sathya Sai Baba, our beloved Swami. So in 90s I was lucky enough to be Swami's translator, interpreter for the Russian speaking groups. I was not only the one who was doing this really wonderful and interesting service, actually interesting job and huge advantage, if your Swami's interpreter is absolutely clear. Actually, that's the chance to get more and more interview and finally personal conversations, chances to ask questions, or just to stay next to our beloved Swami. So, and I continue my memories about that golden days. In Russian language I published actually 3 books at the moment with my memories, and I'm planning to translate them into English, so I hope pretty soon you will enjoy it in actually any language, but let us start with the English, of course. It's very easy to give you stories about different interviews when Swami was giving spiritual instructions and performed a lot of miracles, clairvoyance, healing, and of course materializations. All that stories are easy to tell to the people, and I'm really not only writing and publishing books, making videos, and I also conduct satsang sessions, and it's very easy to tell to the people about all that wonderful events. But what is the most difficult? I even now wonder how can I bring this to you actually. The most wonderful interviews actually took place when real devotees come to the Swami's interview room, and when real devotees come to his interview rooms, actually that was real miracle. No questions, no requests, no desires, just open heart, and then only he was giving real total grace. Sometimes people could come to the interview room, of course, if Swami will invite. And sometimes people could come with a huge list of intellectual questions. And do not make me wrong, actually I am not against intellectual questions. That's very important. Buddhi or intellect is the very important tool for the spiritual transformation and evolution. But the point is that if it is just a clever kind of questions which are not related with the actual spiritual experience of the person, then it's just childish and funny. And the Swami's reaction was really sometimes even brutal. I remember when sometimes people could come to the interview room and ask Swami about enlightenment, moksha, mukti, jivan mukti, samadhi, and the question about what does it mean enlightenment. Okay, Swami, please give me enlightenment. But quite often that questions were just desire to be clever in front of Swami, and it's really unbelievable, because to be clever in front of God, it's something really really ignorant. And his reaction was, as I told you, actually sometimes was really brutal. He could look at the person and then ask, okay, is it really actual question? Do you really need to know about enlightenment or moksha or mukti? Come on, that's not the reality in which you are. And sometimes, just remember actual cases like that, Swami could just look carefully at the person and tell, oh, come on, you're asking me about enlightenment and moksha and mukti. Okay, you have wife, isn't it? Yes. And a couple of children. Yes. And you have a couple of girlfriends. That's not good. And a person in such a cases was in a state of complete shock just in front of other people. He was asking just 1 minute back the clever question about enlightenment, and now Swami exposed him that, okay, you have a wife and a couple of children, and you have also a couple of girlfriends. And then Swami could tell to such a guy like, first you have to follow dharma, first you have to be clear and pure in your family life, and then you may come and ask question about enlightenment. What I remember about that most sweet interviews with the real devotees. It's difficult to imagine. First let me tell you that normal interview was, the duration like 45 minutes, 1 hour, sometimes 1 hour, 30 minutes, it depends on the number of people and of course Swami's desire to speak longer or shorter with a group of people. And it's difficult to imagine, but when real devotees come to the interview room, it was easily such a situations when just half of the interview was just silence. Can you imagine? The normal group was like questions and answers. People took with them pictures of, relatives, friends for the blessing. They could ask about health problems, education for the children, marriage for the children. So questions. But when real devotees come with just peace of mind, open heart, and open mind as well, and then actually nothing happened physically. I can even can't tell you what's actually happened, because sometimes that wonderful and amazing interviews could just be silence for 5 or 10 minutes, but that was the moments of real grace. Swami was really like mirror. He was reflecting our thoughts, our emotions, our ideas, concepts, and sometimes doubts. It was a very special chance for the people to get Padanamaskar. For Indian Vedic culture, Padanamaskaram is a really extremely important part how devotees or just disciples of any guru express their devotion, gratitude, and also the very important part of the Padanamaskaram. So it means to touch with the reverence, with the love and gratitude, to touch a lotus feet of the Guru, and especially when we speak about Sathya Sai Baba, to touch a feet of the Lord. And a very special thing about Padanamaskaram is that grace blessings, huge divine power really comes from the Lord, from the incarnation of the Lord through the lotus feet, and we call it lotus feet, not just feet. Why this so? Yeah, okay, we have a lot of reasons to suppose why it is like that. Maybe because, you know, Lord God, who is incarnated on this wonderful planet Earth, just walk on this planet Earth, okay, and he touch this earth with his feet. And anyway, anyhow, it's a mystery. I can speculate, think, suppose, but actually it's a mystery why exactly lotus feet of the divine incarnation is the place, is the location, is the channel through which huge grace comes to the people, to the devotees. Anyway, to touch feet is the pada namaskaram. Pada means in Sanskrit feet, and that's very special experience. And interview, it was a very nice moment to ask permission to touch his feet and experience this huge grace. Sometimes Swami could easily give permission to the devotee to touch his feet, and sometimes he could say no, not now, and then better not to do this, because you know, for us human beings, of course real devotees they know, but okay, for many people it sounds strange. What is the problem if we'll touch his feet and that's the channel of the grace? What is the problem actually? But the problem is there because only Swami himself could choose and decide, are you ready for this grace right now? Because you know, too much divine energy can be harmful if you are not ready to, you know, let us say, digest, to receive this grace. So that's the reason why sometimes he could let to the people to touch his feet, and sometimes not. And you know, always it was better to follow his choice, his word, his instruction. You know, I remember, it was one really wonderful and important for me interview, and I remember this interview quite clearly because okay, I asked Swami permission to touch his feet, to get pada namaskaram, and he let me. Then in 2-3 minutes I decided to ask it again, and then in 2-3 minutes again, and he always told me yes, okay, you can take. And that's interesting that actually I was a translator, interpreter, and I was like in judging them this job of translating. Swami was telling something and then people asked questions. I was just doing my job as a translator, and just the same time it was just to keep on taking pada namaskaram. And the first couple of times actually I asked Swami, can I take pada namaskaram or not? He gave me permission, and then like after that I was just keep on taking pada namaskaram every 2-3 minutes actually, just already without asking, and he just was you know, absolutely open to that. And you know why I didn't ask him after that, because actually if he choose not to give me you know, then he could say, okay, stop. But he didn't say stop, and I didn't stop. Can you imagine? Later on, people from that group, they told me that I took more than 30, can you imagine, pada namaskarams in one interview. You know what's happened with me? Next 3 days, I was in a state of complete oneness, bliss, and divine consciousness. You know, it was like I was walking down the street and put party, just walking through the streets inside the ashram campus, and when I just looked around to the people, to the buildings, to the sky, everything was just bright, shining, golden light. It was a very interesting experience and very important for me, just for 3 days, see with my open eyes everything as the divine light. And it's interesting that ancient scriptures and some oral tradition, which is a part of Vedic, Hindu, Buddhist, and Christian tradition, sometimes, you know, mystics in ancient times and modern mystics as well, they describe that actually really everything is a divine light. But intellectually it's very difficult to grasp, to understand how it's possible that everything is a divine light if we actually see buildings and people. So actually, Swami's interviews, I think it was more about grace than questions. Of course, we are human beings, we are the people, and we have problems. Sometimes family, sometimes relationship, children, sometimes financial, sometimes spiritual and intellectual problems. And of course it's a great chance, so it was a great chance at that time to come personally to the interview room, of course, if Swami invited this particular group. And it was a great chance to ask questions. So let us not deny that that was a great chance actually. But at the same time, I think that beyond this question and answer session with person with the Swami, of course, the question of grace and blessing was much greater, because if you able to receive that huge love, blessing, grace, actually all our words meaningless, and they can't convey the meaning of this eternal presence of the Lord. And yes, in English we say most probably the most perfect way to express this is just grace. And the grace was the main meaning of the interview. You know, it was a grace because for that, let us say 1 hour or so, Swami was transforming himself in a kind of friend. You know, sometimes in my when I just share with my memories, I really like to say that the huge difference between how Sathya Sai was in front of tens of thousands of people and how he was actually in his interview room. The main difference was that in the interview room you could experience him as a divine friend, and it was also very special. He was like a nice eternal friend, very special one, who was joking, who was kind, who was really penetrating into your heart. So, grace. And now, when we come to put party after 2011, after the moment when he left his physical body, but his presence anyway, especially it is possible to experience in a put party next to his Samadhi Mandiram, his tomb, and of course, actually, just even if you just walk down the street and put party or inside the ashram, everywhere his presence, his light, his vibration, but of course, especially people may experience this next to the Samadhi Mandiram. So it means we never can speak about our Swami in a past tense. He is always in the moment. So God bless you. Sai Ram. See you next time.